took the cat home with me, obviously. Hello and welcome to Somewhere on the Spectrum. Today we are talking about a bit of a serious subject. It's another story, and I'm looking at how my autism impacted what happened and affected my reactions to what happened. Before we start, let me say this sounds worse than it is. Everything was fine. There was no sad ending coming. It's fine. There was some frustration, a little bit of shock. Everybody was fine. So here we go. It's about 5.5 years ago now. I was driving home after visiting my parents, which is a long drive. At that point in time, it's about a 4-hour drive. I was about 3 hours into my drive. And about an hour or so from home, something happened to my car. Suddenly, I was spinning in front of a truck, and then I was being pushed down the motorway with the truck grill right here in my window. To say it was terrifying is an understatement. And after what seemed like forever and also seemed like no time at all, my back wheel hit the curb and my car spun around and rushed into the barrier along the side of the motorway. It trundled along the barrier for a little while, and then finally, thankfully, it came to a stop. Amazingly, I was fine. In great shock, but physically, nothing was broken. I will say I was driving a Hyundai. I don't know that I will ever buy a different car now. I saw the safety barriers in the door because the truck had pushed right through to the safety barriers. Without a doubt, my car saved my life. No question. All of the safety features worked exactly as they were supposed to work, and my car was totaled and died long before it was due to die, but it definitely saved my life on the way out. So big thanks to Hyundai for building excellent, safe cars. They did not pay me for this video. So the truck pulled in a little way ahead of me, and the truck driver started to walk back to me. And luckily there was this delightfully lovely man who I don't know his name. I can't remember. He did tell me, who pulled in and got out of his car on the motorway as things were flying past and helped me get out of my car. My driver's side was on the side of the traffic, and the door was so badly damaged that I would not have been able to open it myself. And my other side was next to the barrier, so I also couldn't open that. This very lovely man put some brute force in and got me out of the car and got me started with the process of what to do next. Having never been in an accident before, I had absolutely no idea what I was doing other than panicking. I was quite useless, shaking, terrified, not very sensible, shall we say. So thank you very much to the man who got out of his car. Another thank you to the woman and her husband who were driving down the motorway and had a dash cam. And the dash cam recorded everything. And in the dash cam, I can hear them being very upset about what was happening to me. And they made sure that that dash cam footage got to the police, which was also very helpful. And so big thank you to them. Not that they're ever going to hear this or know about it, but I just want to put it out in the world that I am very grateful. So the police were called, a pickup truck was brought, a lot happened. Today, I want to talk about how my autism impacted this experience. Of course, everything was impacted by adrenaline and cortisol too, but my autism, I believe, played a particular role that I don't think is something we usually think about. You know, we're usually thinking about autism in terms of our lives, the longer term. We're not tending to think about it in terms of specific incidents that happen in our lives. So that's one of the reasons why I tell these stories, just like my very first video about the mutiny on the cruise ship. That was me. I was mutinying. Go back and watch it. It's a fun video. The point of this is to see how our autism can impact on very specific situations, as well as looking at the broader picture. So, number one, gullibility. I didn't know what had hit my car. I knew that something had hit my car. I hadn't seen anything behind me, and there wasn't anything that came from behind me. So what had hit my car? As it happened, the window where this happened was just after a camera. So the camera didn't catch it actually. And it was the dash cam footage that caught what happened. But in that moment, I didn't have a clue what had happened, only that suddenly I was in front of a truck. The truck driver told me that he thought he had a puncture and he didn't know he was pushing me down the road. Looking back, it's very possible that he was following the never take the blame logic and he was lying and he knew that he'd hit me. Perhaps he'd been asleep at the wheel. I don't know. I was in such a panic and I am such a person that I will always take people at face value. And so I believed he was telling the truth. And I felt very sorry for him that this had happened to him. Can we see the irony of this situation? Just to be clear, the visibility around trucks is absolutely horrendous. They can barely see anything. It should be illegal to have trucks like that, especially when we now have sensors and cameras. But sensors and cameras in all the places that they can't see would be extremely distracting in the cab. So know that the trucks that are driving on the road have almost no visibility around them. They do not know that you are there. So please, 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 whatever vehicle you are driving, always be careful when you're coming to overtaking, being around a truck. It's not their fault that they can't see anything. It is a fault of the way the vehicle is built. But in addition, many of them are driving a very long way with very little sleep and doing too much and should be resting more, but they can't because of the systems that have been built around them in the industry. So it's not entirely their fault. It is a problem directly with the industry and with the way that trucks are built. But ultimately, we are the ones that pay when we're on the road. I am now very upset about that visibility because the only reason I survived was my Hyundai car. And it should never have been able to happen because he should have known that I was there. And so be careful is what I'm saying. Be careful. I believed the truck driver. I never blamed him for anything and I never considered that he might be lying. It never crossed my mind. Even if I hadn't been high on adrenaline, I still think I probably would have trusted him. I don't think I should have trusted him. I think if I hadn't trusted him, I would have done a lot more to fight my case and I wouldn't have been nearly as forgiving as I was going longer term. Number 2, taking things literally. That, obviously, but also when the rescue truck came to pick up my car, they told me not to worry. Everything would be sent to me. I explained that I was going a long way. I had my suitcase, a lot of things were in my car. They hushed me. Hush, hush. No. Don't worry. I believed them. Things are not sent to you. I had to rent a car and get back on the same motorway 2 days later to go and get my stuff. When I tell you that was the scariest drive I've ever had, I'm not joking. I was not okay getting back in a car. I was not okay joining the motorway. I was not okay whenever a truck came in my rearview mirror. It was not a good situation for me to be in, but unfortunately, I lived in the middle of the country. I had no family to come and help me, and all of my stuff was an hour and a half away from my house, no way to access it in public transport or anything else. So that was the only thing that I could do. Number 3, impulsivity. Now we come to the fun part of the story. When I was at the motorway station waiting for my friend, because when you get picked up by these rescue trucks, they don't take you home. No. That would be too nice of them. They don't take you home. They're just going to the nearest car wreck place where they can leave your car. They abandon you and they leave you in a motorway station that is not attached to a public transport system, just left there. And it's up to you to find your way home. I was miles away from home and miles away from my family. So in the end, luckily, a friend of mine, after she'd finished work, was able to drive all the way there to come and pick me up. So know this, when you get into an accident, make sure they drop you somewhere that you can get home from. Don't let them abandon you like they did with me. Meanwhile, a cat came to hang out with me. He had no collar on, ginger cat, delightful. He ate some of my sandwich. We chilled out for all the time that I was waiting for my friend. So it was quite a long time that we were hanging out together. And bearing in mind at this moment, I was completely overloaded with cortisol and adrenaline. I was not thinking clearly. I didn't ask around. I never went inside and checked if anybody knew about this cat, where he came from, anything like that. I took the cat home with me, obviously. I have 7 years of working at an animal shelter, of rescuing animals. This was a busy motorway service station. It seemed like a dangerous place for a cat to be hanging out. So I took him home with me. My friend, when I got into the car, you should have seen her face. She thought I was an absolute lunatic. Bless her heart, she never really said that. I think maybe if she had said, do you think maybe we should check with somebody inside? I would have been like, oh yeah, duh, that's a good idea. But she never said anything. To be fair, the cat did help. But not like totally help. He also made things worse. But anyway, number 4, not reading between the lines. When talking to the insurance person, she was very nice, very sweet. She tried to give me some kind of careful thing, but obviously she can't say much. So she asked me if I'd gone to the doctor. In hindsight, I suspect that she was quite pushy about it, and I took things literally. And I'm a good girl, I am, and I didn't want to overload the NHS unnecessarily. Sure, I was emotionally traumatized. I had a sore back, but as the daughter of a nurse, I knew that these were really hardly worth bothering the busy NHS about. Besides, the medical document was enormous. So I was fine. I was totally fine. I was fine. This would come back to haunt me. Number 5, overwhelm. At every step of the journey, I was emotionally and physically overwhelmed. That caused me to not think clearly, to avoid important steps, and to miss important information. Also, it turns out that if you don't visit the doctor, your insurance doesn't really see the point. So you won't get much money and they won't put much effort into it. Whether you're in pain or not, go to the doctor. So how did these 5 things impact what happened next? As a result of all this, I got barely any money from my insurance. It did not pay me enough to replace my car. It did not help me deal with any emotional challenges of being back on the road again. It certainly did not compensate me for what I had been through. Nothing happened with the truck driver. I think he got a slap on the wrist from the police. That's about it. The cat, it turned out, lived on a farm a mile away from the service station. He was a regular visitor. Luckily, he had an ID chip because this had happened before. This was the 4th time he had been rescued while at the motorway service station. He was called Tom, and his black and white brother was called Jerry. They had decided, after I had talked with them about this whole thing, we decided that maybe a collar with "I live near here" on it, so that people understood that he wasn't lost, would be a good addition to the ID chip. He was delightful and certainly massively helpful for my mental health for the next few days after the accident. I definitely think that had the cat not kept me busy, because of course I was worrying like, he needs a litter tray, he needs some food, he needs to go to the vet, does he have an ID chip? It completely took over all of my attention, which was bad because it meant that I didn't go to the doctor and I didn't really think about what had happened and I wasn't processing any of it properly. But also it meant that I wasn't processing any of it, so I wasn't as traumatized. The coming down from the cortisol was probably a lot easier. I was able to sleep a bit better because he was there keeping me company. So actually, he was extremely helpful to me recovering from the situation. I think it would have been much, much worse if he wasn't there. But also, he did have his downsides. The other downside, which is totally not his fault, I had to get back on the motorway again anyway to go back up and get my stuff. And his house, his farm, was not far away from the place that I had to get my stuff, the car place. So we went back up the motorway together. So he was yowling the whole time. He was not happy to be in a box. That was helpful as well, feeling that I wasn't alone in the car going by myself. So the cat was really, really good, and also probably not the smartest thing to do in that moment. basically nothing really happened from my initial insurance because I hadn't gone to the doctor. They basically didn't feel that they had a case to push it any further, but I did have a sore back. Many months later, I got a call from one of those no win, no fee things. I wasn't going to do anything about it, but my parents thought we should push it a bit more. We did. It went on for 2 years. So despite my initial phone call being all about, yeah, it'll just be a few weeks, we'll be able to sort it out, it'll be fine, it ended up going on for 2 years, along with some other chaos that was in there, like being scammed, people trying to steal my case from another company. It was insane. It was absolutely insane. 2 years of regular phone calls telling me they weren't getting anywhere and they needed more information and they needed different information. The doctor who did my physical check lost my paperwork and then told a completely different story to what he had said to me when I was in the room with him. It was an absolute ridiculous drama. Arguing with insurance companies, they didn't care anyway, and eventually they were turning it into it being my fault. So I gave up. It was 2 years of trauma, and eventually I might have got $3,000 out of it. In the end, it was not worth it for my mental health, so I gave up. I gave up the process and didn't really have any money from it. So I wasn't able to replace my car, which prevented me from going to interviews, which ultimately led to me getting burnout, which led to me leaving that whole sector and the job market entirely. So yeah, it was a knock-on effect. A lot of us happening at the same time. I lost my job, I got my autism diagnosis, and the car accident all happened within about 3 months of each other. But the car accident and the loss of my car delayed me from being able to pick up my life, and ultimately then everything just stopped at that point. To all autistics who happen to get in a car accident, I hope it never happens to you, but preemptively, if it does happen to you, remember to come back to this video, skip forward to whatever minute we are now, and this is what you need to remember to do. Hopefully you never experience it. Number 1, always go to the doctor, no matter how much you don't think you need it. Always, always, the next day, get your ass to the doctor. If the insurance company sends you paperwork, they will, about medical stuff, take it to the doctor, fill that stuff out. Number 2, ask for help filling out forms. The number of forms is insane. There are too many pieces of paper. It's extremely overwhelming. Ask for help. Even if you just have to go down to Citizens Advice and ask them to work through it with you, you need to ask for help and just get it done. Like, don't even wait. Don't even let yourself procrastinate. It's really, really important that you go and get it done. Number 3, take everything out of the car. Whatever they say, when they come to a stop and they kick you out, you tell them, lower that car down. I've got stuff in it. I'm going to get it out now. Push the point, because they won't. They will just drive off. You've got stuff you need to have and it probably won't fit in an envelope. You need to get it out of the car. So take everything out of the car. Number 4, fight your corner and don't let anyone condescend to you. The assumption may be that because you're autistic, this happened. Do not let them push that. Get help. Again, Citizens Advice might be helpful. Get support. It definitely wasn't your fault. Don't let them condescend to you. Number 5, ask for detailed instructions and reasoning on things. So if somebody wants to do something, take some action, there's some forms you need to fill out, make sure you get detailed instructions and reasoning so that you know why. For example, if the insurance company tell you need to go to the doctor, you need to ask why. They may not be able to tell you, which is why it might be helpful to have someone else on the call with you, but understand that if you ask why and ask for detailed instructions and even tell them you're autistic and you need that because of that, that might help you avoid some of the challenges that I faced. Maybe don't rescue the first animal that tries to calm you down, unless it's yours, and then rescue away. This was possibly one of the worst things that I've ever had to experience, and it dragged on a lot longer than it needed to, which was really unhelpful. I did everything wrong. That's the gist of the situation. I did everything wrong. And my autism and my ADHD absolutely contributed to how wrong I did everything and how unable I was to manage the situation in a better way. I have spoken to other friends and many of them have been through a similar thing. Ultimately, the first time this happens to you, everybody makes very similar mistakes. That's how the insurance companies are helping themselves and how the truck companies are helping themselves. But I hope with my short list of do's and don'ts and this story, I hope that if it ever does happen to you, I hope it never does, but if it ever does, I hope that you're a little bit better prepared for the situation. There are so many things that shouldn't work the way that they do work. And if we were running the country, it would be better for everybody. I assume. I think I'm probably right. Let me know in the comments if you have had experiences like this and how your autism made it worse or perhaps better, and any tips to avoid or things to do so that we can all help and support each other and make sure that when these terrible things happen, we can somehow lessen the impact and make them easier to cope with. All right. See you next time. Bye.